let us continue with the topic. We have discussed about definition of whistleblowing and types of whistleblowing. Now let us see the conditions to meet whistleblowing. Now, what conditions lead a person to reveal the illegal activities or unethical practices happening in an organization? The first one is need, or you can call it as problems also, right? So I will write it as need. Now what are these needs? Now it can be the unethical policies following by an organization. It can be injustice doing to workers in an organization. It can be serious threat to public safety and well-being. It can be the criminal behavior of an organization, right? Now these are the needs to whistleblow, right? Now I will write two examples for your information, right? Now see here, each and every word what I speak and each and everything what I write is very important. Now I will write it as unethical policies, one example. Unethical policies and criminal behavior of an employee. Now, the next condition to whistleblow is proximity, right? Now what is this? Who will whistleblow? Now first we have checked about the need, why to whistleblow. Now who will whistleblow? This is a proximity, right? The term itself says the persons who know the developments very well. Proximity means near case. Now this person who is disclosing or revealing the information might be an employee, might be a former employee, might be a person who knows the developments very well, right? Now see here, proximity is nothing but the person who is disclosing can be an employee, can be a former employee, can be an anonymous person who knows the developments happening, right? So I'm writing two things for your information. Now you have discussed about the needs and you have discussed who will reveal the information. Now let us discuss about the capability of the person who is revealing. Now this is nothing but strongness. Now see here, if a person is weak hearted or having less courage, can he reveal the information? No, he cannot reveal the information. Now that itself says the capability. The person who is reporting to an authority who can take action must be of capable, right? Now and again, one more point to be noted here. The person who is revealing must be capable, and the person who is listening must also be capable in order to take an action, right? Now see here, I will write down the things here. Now revealing person must be capable, right? Revealing person must be capable, and the authority who takes action must also be capable. Am I right or wrong? If the authority is incapable, then what is the need of whistleblowing, right? Now the last condition to meet whistleblowing is last retort, the final thing what you have to do. Now what is the final thing that you have to do? Last retort. Now see here, when the authority is not taking action, when the authority is not capable to take action, then the last retort is nothing but moving out to the concerned authorities, I mean concerned courts, concerned departments, concerned government in order to resolve this issue, right? Now When will this last retort happens? When the authority who doesn't take action, then last retort happens. Now you got the point clearly? Yes. Now these are the conditions to meet whistleblowing. Next, what we will discuss is, now see here, already we have discussed about the code of ethics in detail in the videos, but in UPSC and your service commission examinations, the questions are direct exact sentences taken out of code of ethics. And this code of ethics are taken from National Society of Professional Engineers. Now this is an American professional association, right? Now see here, your code of ethics are the exact replicas, right? Exact sentences taken out of National Society of Professional Engineers. Now, we said the exact sentences are being asked in the examination. Right? Now, see here, according to this code of ethics books. Now, first one what you have to discuss is preamble. Now, what will be there in this preamble? Now, see here, the content we have discussed here. I will give the points, right? Strong points there. Now, see here, preamble means the first statement according to the code of ethics. The first statement according to the code of ethics. Now, as a member of engineering profession, now engineers are expected to be on high standards of honesty and integrity. Now, this is the first point in the preamble, right? Highest honesty and integrity. I'll write down this point. Highest honesty and integrity. Right now, the services given by these engineers must require honesty, and they must be in fairness approach. Already we have seen the utilitarian approach, common good approach, fairness approach. Now here the same thing happening in preamble, and you have to treat equally. And see here, your profession must be dedicated to safeguarding your public health, safety and welfare. That is what we have discussed, right? Your occupational crimes, your hazards, your disasters. Am I right or wrong? Yes, no. This is preamble. Now see here, I will give you one step clearly. I mean, according to the code of ethics books, you just follow this. Now, after preamble, what they will discuss is fundamental canons. Now, as an appendix, we will provide this code of ethics for you. Fundamental canons. Now, see here, what are the duties that an engineer has to perform, right? Now, see here, this is nothing but duties to be performed. Now, what are the duties to be performed? And see here, the first most important one, he has to hold paramount importance to the safety, health and welfare of the public. Now, he has to be given paramount importance to health, safety and welfare of the public. Right? Now, this is the ethic of an engineering professional. Now see here, and he has to perform his services only in his area of competence. Now this is one more fundamental canon, right? And he has to avoid deceptive acts. Now this is the third fundamental canon. Now see here, he has to perform his duties honorably, responsibly and ethically. Now these are the 4 fundamental canons that has to be performed by an engineer. Now, after fundamental canons, we will see the rules of practice. Now, what is this rules of practice and what engineers has to perform? Now, see here, I'll write down the exact statement given in the code of ethics, right? Now, the first rule of practice is engineers shall hold paramount importance to the safety, health and welfare of the public. The exact statement, I'm writing down the exact statement. Engineers. Now, this exact statement was given in the examination once. Shall hold paramount importance regarding safety, health and welfare of public. This is the first rule of practice, right? Now, under this, we have discussed about the hazards and how to mitigate these hazards, right? Now, see here, what are the things that he has to consider under this rule of practice? Now, engineers shall approve only those projects, only those documents that are in conformity with applicable standards, right? Without applicable standards, automatically it will retard your pride, and also it will retard the safety, health and welfare of the public also, right? And engineers shall not reveal the facts, data and information without the prior consent of the employer, except by authorized by the law, right? He must not reveal any information. This is what we have discussed, right? Done. Now, and also one more important point under this, engineers shall not permit use of their name or associate in any business ventures with any person or any firm, right, which are doing fraudulent practices, Got the point? Yes. Now, let us see under rules of practice the second one. Already first one we have done. Now the second one. Now see here, you exactly remember the statements, right? Now the second one is engineers shall perform services only in the areas of their competence. Already I have given in the preamble, but we have to know this. Engineers shall perform. You have to recreate the exact statement. Perform services only in the areas of their competence. Right? Now, this is the second one. Already you have seen the first one in rules of practice. Now see here, under this what we will discuss, already we have discussed this here. Engineers shall undertake the assignments only when and by education, qualified education or expertise in the specific technical field, right? This is what I said. Unless until if you don't have any technical grip on that, you must not take that assignment. And see here, engineers may accept assignments and assume responsibility for coordination of an entire project and sign the engineering documents for the entire project, provided that your technical segment is perfectly correct, right? And only when the qualified engineers have prepared the document, right? Only unless you have to sign the document, right? Now see here, the rule which comes under this is signing the document duly. signing the document duly. Now this is second rule of practice. Now third rule of practice is engineers shall issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. Here I'll write down this point also. Engineers shall issue public statements. Now see here, what is this public statements? We have discussed about citizen charters, right? And this is nothing but your public statement, right? Only in an objective and truthful manner. Now see here, my suggestion is before going to the examination, go through this video and surely there will be one question on this, right? Now what comes under this engineers shall issue public statements, right? Now see here, engineers should be truthful and objective in regarding the reports generated, right? And they must include all the relevant and pertinent information in such reports. They must not eliminate anything regarding the project, right? And again, the engineers must not issue any statements or must not involve any information which will be helpful for their personal use, right, or your interested parties, right? Now this is the rule under this. Now the next rule what we will discuss is under rules of practice, fourth one, right? Engineers shall act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. I write down this statement also. Engineers shall act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. And now this is the fourth rule. Now see here under this, engineers shall not accept any compensation, any financial gifts or otherwise from other parties or services on the same project except from the employer. Am I right or wrong? Yes, you must not take any financial rewards. You must not take any monetary benefits other than your employer. Now this is what trustworthiness with the employer, right? Now see here, and the engineer must not accept any contract from anybody, right, when you are serving as an employee under an organization, unless until with the approval of employer. Now this is what they are discussing of this rule, right? Faithful agents. Now if you can know the rule, automatically you can deduce the secondary options there. Now next rule what we will discuss is engineers shall avoid deceptive acts. Now what is this deceptive acts? Your fifth rule, right? Now see here, deceptive acts means engineers must not furnish wrong data, or you must not falsify your qualifications, or you must not misrepresent your associates regarding qualifications, right? Now this is the exact thing what we have discussed there, right? And engineers shall not offer, shall not receive, or shall not obey either directly or indirectly any contribution, any contract or any award other than from your employer, except from your employer. Am I right or wrong? Yes. Now these are the deceptive acts. See here, each and every statement you can connect with the video. We have discussed in detail regarding these rules. Right now, we have seen the rules of practice. Now, let us move to the next concept in this code of ethics called professional obligations. Professional obligations. Now, under this professional obligations, now see here, this will be the questions. What out of the given statements, which are professional obligations according to code of ethics? Then automatically you have to find out the exact statement. That's why I'm writing each and every point there, right? Focus on this, because exactly there will be one question on this for you, sure. Now the first professional obligation is, now I'll write down the statements in the next slide. Now, engineers shall be guided in all their relations by highest standards of honesty and integrity. Now, the first statement of the preamble is nothing but this, right? Engineers shall be guided in all their relations by highest standards of honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity. Right. Now this is the first professional obligation. Now see here in the code of ethics, first we have seen preamble, next fundamental canons, next rules of practice. Now third one we are seeing professional obligations. Now see here, engineers shall acknowledge their errors and shall not distort or alter the facts. Now this is what behaving with honesty and integrity, right? Now see here, don't club the rules, right? This is not your rules of practice. This is your professional obligation. This is what you will get confused in the examination, right? And you must not accept the outside employment. All these comes under this highest honesty and integrity, right? Misleading sentences and misleading words must not be provided by the engineers. Done. Now, the second professional obligation is, engineers shall at all times strive to serve the public interest, right? Shall at all times strive to serve public interest. And this is what we discuss as professional obligation, right? You have to work for the health and safety of the community, and you must not do any unprofessional conduct, right? And you must extend your knowledge to the public in order to educate them, enlighten them. Now these are the words that you have to use, right? Now the third professional obligation is, so it might be some difficult things, but you have to learn this. Engineers shall avoid all conduct or practice. Shall avoid all conducts and practice that deceives the public. That deceives the public. Right? Now, this is the third professional obligation, right? Now, see here, this is nothing but you must not omit any information. You have to give full info to the public of what happening. Am I right? Now, you must not miscredit yourself you must not eliminate any technical process, any technical obligation happened in the process. This is what your engineers shall avoid all conduct and practice to that deceives public. Right? Now, the next professional obligation is engineers shall not disclose without consent confidential information concerning the business affairs, right, or technical process of any present or former client or employer or public body on which they serve. Now this is one more professional obligation, your fourth one. Now engineers shall not disclose without consent confidential information regarding the organization or any technical process of any former or present employee of this is regarding your former or your present employee, both employer and not employee. Present employee, you must not reveal the confidential. This is what utmost integrity, right? Now without the consent of all parties you cannot disclose the information, right? This is what your fourth professional obligation. Next, fifth one, engineers shall not be influenced in their professional duties by conflicting interests, right? Shall not be influenced in their professional duty right by conflicting interest. Now already we have discussed this conflict of interest, conflict of values in detail, right? Now see here, you must not do in favor of anybody which harms your employer, which harms the public interest, which doesn't safeguard the public right. Now you must not accept any commissions or any allowances or any from the contractors or other parties, right? This is what here. Now the next professional obligation is engineers shall not attempt to obtain employment or advancement or professional engagements by untruthful criticizing other engineers or by other improper or questionable methods. Now see here, see the little bit nuance there. You have seen the same sentence in rules of practice also. Now see here, there is a little bit change, right? By untruthfully criticizing other engineers. Engineers shall not attempt to obtain employment, right, or any professional engagement by untruthfully, now this is by untruthfully criticizing other engineers. Now see here, observe the difference between this and in rule of practice. Now see here, the questions will be nearby. You have to be very clear on this, right? Now there are three more. Let us write the remaining three in the next slide, right? Now the seventh professional obligation is engineers shall not attempt to injure maliciously or falsely, directly or indirectly, for professional reputation, prospects, and for employment of other engineers, right? I mean, you must not decept them. That is the thing here. Engineers, I'll write down the point that you can understand it. Engineers shall not attempt to injure or you must not disrupt reputation professionally. Reputation, prospects of other engineers, right? Other engineers. Now, this is the thing you have to learn very perfectly, right? Now, next one. Now, what comes down? Now, this is self-explanatory, right? You have to remember this rule. So, ethics is a dry topic. Nobody can help on this, right? Next one. Engineers shall accept personal responsibility for their professional activities. Engineers shall accept personal responsibility for professional activities. Let us for professional activities. Now this is 8th professional obligation. Now the last one what we will deal is engineers shall give credit for engineering work to those to whom credit is due and will recognize the proprietary interest of others. Right? Now this is the last rule. Now see here, the term itself is self-explanatory. You must not get the gain or the wish or the reward for the others' work, for the others' credit, right? Now, engineers shall give credit for the work of those to whom credit is due. Right? Now, this is the statement, right? Now, see here, these are the 9 professional obligations, right? Now, you have to learn the exact statements, right? You have to remember, right? So, before going to the examination, once go through these rules of practice and professional obligations, that can be very happily for the examination, right? Thank you.